Good morning, Thunder. I hope everybody is doing well this morning or this afternoon. Some of you might be watching this on a Friday, so hopefully you have a good day and a good weekend. If you're coming back and watching this on Monday, hopefully you had a good weekend. Missed you guys, and I'm just going to go over the assignment for today, which is actually going to take you through the end of the first week of May. So let's just run through the slide here. You've got a new reading minute for today. And a big change that you will see here is that independent reading is going to become optional for the remainder of the school year and distance learning. Now, of course, I hope that you're choosing to spend some of your extra time reading. And if you do, there are going to be some optional dystopian ebooks that are linked right here. You can click on this and view the presentation if you have any interest in checking out one of those. And I will talk a little bit more about that when we get into today's assignment. One more thing, if you could take this library survey for Mrs. Holt, you can start with that or end with that. Take that anytime. That's going to help give her some feedback for the next school year. And that brings us down here to number 3. So this is going to be our introduction to Unit 6, which is our final unit of the year. And we are going to be digging into dystopian-themed literature. You're on letter A here, which is watching this video. And we are going to take just a moment to do an overview of this unit, and then we will talk about the assignment. Okay, so what is this dystopian unit all about? Well, to kind of wrap it up in a nutshell, this unit is bringing together many of the concepts and main ideas that we've studied this year, which include communicating, research, elements of fiction, text structures, and argument. This is going to be a very condensed, shortened version of the unit due to distance learning and the schedule that we are running for the rest of the year. So we're going to look at some different types of writing that revolve around dystopian societies. And if you're not familiar with that word dystopia or dystopian, you will dig into that today. Your final assessment is going to be a demonstration of an understanding of some essential questions. And we will, of course, be using textual evidence to support our thinking on those. So, what are those essential questions? We have 3 of them, starting with, how does language influence the world? And when we think of language, we want to think of how are people speaking? What word choices are people or characters, in the case of literature, right? What tone are people using when they speak back and forth with one another? So, the influence or the impact of language on the world. The second essential question, how do the universal truths discovered by characters influence or connect to me? We've done so much this year with making connections, and I think this is something that we talk about often in class. How can you relate to your character? What character from a different novel can you connect this character to? What world experience or world event or maybe current event can you relate this aspect of your novel to? So when we talk about universal truths, those are just lessons, guys. Those are those morals, messages, the themes that the author is trying to teach us. A universal truth is kind of another way to mention that. So what lessons are the characters learning about the world that you can connect back to yourself? And then finally, do individuals or external forces have more power to impact change? And in dystopian literature, as with all literature, you're going to find very strong and powerful individuals, but you are also going to find those external forces that are battling against them, causing trouble, creating problems and conflict. And the answer could go either way for this question. Sometimes you're going to have evidence to support that individuals are creating change, and sometimes you'll have evidence to support that the external forces are taking power and creating change. So we'll be circling back around to those essential questions. So as you dig into the literature that we're going to be reading, you'll want to keep those in the back of your mind. So as far as getting started, I kind of mentioned this on the slide before, but for independent reading, it's going to be optional for the rest of the year. Mrs. Holt put together this list of dystopian novels. If we were still meeting face-to-face at school, we'd be doing book clubs, and we would have had our novels checked out probably weeks ago, but this is kind of our best setup for distance learning. All of these titles compiled here do have ebooks available. Some of them have unlimited copies, so you kind of have to dig in and see what you're interested in. But I would love for you to pick out one of those and kind of make some connections with a novel if you would like to, okay? That part is totally optional. You're going to be doing a good amount of reading of short stories and other literature for class, so we're not going to have an additional independent reading time that is required for the remainder of the year or distance learning. Okay, and then that brings us to the new assignments. You're going to have a 2-part assignment with everything due on May 8th. So since Wednesdays are now going to be set aside for support and we won't be assigning any new work, the best way to set this up was to go ahead and push out these 2 assignments at the same time, but to give you an extended amount of time to complete them. So the 2 assignments are, number 1, what is a dystopia? And actually, I'm just noticing this mistake here. I'll go ahead and fix, so that should be there. And then the second assignment is to read the short story called Old Glory, and you will actually be doing an Edpuzzle that'll kind of walk you through that. Okay, so there's an overview for our unit. We're going to pop back over to the slide, and I'll dig into those 2 assignments real quick. Okay, so back on our daily slides here, my recommendation would be that you start with this What is a Dystopia assignment and complete that today, although it's not due till May 8th, and that you come back to this Old Glory Edpuzzle assignment on your next class. Okay, those are your 2 parts to your assignment, and you can break them up over your next 2 classes, including today. If you want to get it all knocked out today, and have everything submitted ahead of schedule before May 8th, that is also fine. Okay, there's not going to be a new assignment for your next class. There will just be additional time to work on completing these 2 assignments. So when we look in Schoology for what is a dystopia, I went ahead and put the Unit 6 folder right up here at the top. So we're wrapping up with that. Here's your What is a Dystopia assignment. It is going to ask you to copy the document, complete, and submit by May 8th. Just one thing to point out on this one, there's a couple videos in there, some infographics. I would not spend more than 10, maybe 15 minutes on those. And then quadrant 4 here. There's a note here that says it's fine for you to submit this before completing the box because you're going to have to read Old Glory and come back to this. So don't stress over having quadrant 4 completed. You can submit it when quadrants 1, 2, and 3 are completed. Okay, that's just fine, and you won't be penalized for that at all. And then the second assignment is the Old Glory Edpuzzle. And this is the one that you might decide to come back to for your next class. Or maybe you want to go ahead and get started on it. Totally up to you. So this link should take you directly to the Edpuzzle. I don't think you'll need the class code in addition, but if you do, LITLERN is the class code that will take you in there. My recommendation is that you also copy this Google Doc of the Old Glory text because your Edpuzzle is a YouTube video and it will be kind of hard to go back into the text by scrolling back and forth in that video. So go ahead and make a copy of this text to keep kind of side by side so that you can get back in there. On this one, you won't need to submit anything to Schoology. It does have a due date. I believe it has that due date of May 8th, but that will show up for me in Edpuzzle. Okay, so do not worry about submitting anything here. It'll all be tracked in Edpuzzle. You guys can email me anytime that you have questions. Back into this folder to show you what else is here. So Old Glory short story text, it's linked in a couple places, and here are those optional dystopian ebooks that you can check out. And back over to our slide here. All of that information is here. You just saw where it was in Schoology. Don't forget to take this library survey from Ms. Holt at some point. And I think that does it for the assignments that are going to be due May 8th. Please reach out if you guys have questions, okay? I hope you have a great day. Bye.